Folks, this is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. We are quickly going to meet to see if we can at least go through some language that was on S-193 yesterday that we went through. And I want the committee to focus in a little bit so we can at least get a head start on this. It is Thursday, May 17th, and we have with us Katie McClin, and we're going over Section 5 of S-193. And also the intent language as well at the beginning, but we can deal with that a little later.
Okay.
Oh, you were already there. Okay. Because there was some concerns on this one. We had a conversation with the other chairs of the committees that are working on this. And the chair of Human Services Judiciary Committee felt this was a little too restrictive, and that for the forensic facility, he was wondering if we could have at least the language for security being provided by DOC to really narrow the language. It's DOC providing the security for the building and the facility, not the operations of it, and not providing therapeutic services, but just the supervision for the, security for the supervision. So that's what the chair of House Judiciaries asked for. I don't know where we are as a committee on that, but the feeling was that the legislative intent language is a little too restrictive. So I just want to put that on the table.
Are you looking for discussion?
Sure.
I have gone about as far as I can on this bill. So I don't see a path forward for myself that allows DOC to be involved with that sort of staffing. That's a prison, right? So that's what it is. Yeah, so I worry about where this bill is headed. And yeah, so that's my starting point. I'm more than happy to continue conversations on it, but what we have here for intent language works for me incredibly well.
So I know we don't have a full committee. Katie, we have you scheduled for half an hour tomorrow.
It was removed from my calendar. Maybe not. I thought you were swapping out this time for that time. Okay, no, I'm on. Yes, I guess I'm coming back.
Okay.
I think it's only half an hour tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
So Troy has voiced his concern. I don't want to get into a whole conversation about this, but if someone else has some real concern or.
Yeah, I'm concerned as well. I think there are other secure facilities that are not staffed by DOC. That could be a model. I think if you start at this place, it's going to end up DOC's running the show. That's just my instinct.
So other folks think about it. We can come back to this tomorrow. I just want to get to Section 5 because we're going to have a very possible short time before we have to be back on the floor.
Okay, so Section 5 starts with a definition of forensic facility. As I said yesterday, it tries to integrate some of the definition of forensic facility from a previous act. So I did my best to try to combine that within the context of this, the policy decisions that are being made in this bill. It sounds like there are opportunities to further refine this. So I would anticipate a next draft would have maybe some amendments to it. Next is subsection B. This is the list where it talks about sort of clinical protections within the forensic facility and design elements within the forensic facility. So you have language that this would be designed and operated as a TCR. In subdivision 3, the phrasing that healthcare has liked, which is evaluation, treatment, stabilization, and care of persons.
Can I ask you a question there, Katie?
Mm.
The word treatment does a lot of work there, right?
Mhm.
is treatment in this case synonymous with the restoration of competency? Or is it the sort of underlying causes or trauma, it's,
In my mind, that's a challenging question, but I see competency restoration as a very specific service, and treatment feels much broader in the types of
Yeah.
services that could be provided. I'm sure if you have clinical experts, they will have much more nuance to that than I could provide.
sure, I mean, that's what I would like to think it is. I'd be worried if we were just restoring competency because it's a horse of a different color from treatment.
So Katie, do you know if Human Services Committee is going to be working on this definition as well?
Well, let me look at my calendar. I don't believe I'm scheduled to be back in there on this bill this week.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, because some of these, what we did, we incorporated what came over from the Senate with what was previous session law definition of forensic facility, and you melded that. And then there's some highlights from House Healthcare Committee, and there's no highlights from House Human Services Committee.
Human Services, I spent an afternoon with them discussing this. I know they've taken a lot of testimony, and I am not often in the room when they're taking testimony. They sort of gave me a list of concerns that they had. A lot of the concerns matched with what was happening in this committee in healthcare. And a lot of it was around not having people within Dale custody in the forensic facility. And that feels like it's something that's still under discussion between multiple committees.
Yeah.
So Human Services didn't work on language per se, but sort of gave me a list of their thoughts. And the biggest one was that it wasn't appropriate for the forensic facility to be in a correctional facility. And I think other committees have reached that conclusion also. So I think some of that is reflected in the work that other committees are doing. Specifically, they did have a conversation about expanding the Act 248 population beyond just individuals with intellectual disability to include other cognitive or cognitive disabilities, TBI, dementia. And so that's part of the feasibility plan to see the administration has a proposal for that expansion. Human Services also discussed what does it look like when somebody leaves a forensic facility. And I know this committee has thought about that also. Healthcare sort of had a similar conversation. So some of the language is highlighted in the healthcare color instead of the Human Services color. But some of that conversation was not just sort of releasing somebody into the community, but making sure they have a stable housing, stable case management, stable clinical services upon release for whatever duration of time. That wasn't really discussed, but to make sure that an individual is sort of wrapped with services to help stabilize them as they re-enter the community from the forensic facility.
And House Human Services was thinking that would be more in the feasibility plan for them to come back.
I don't think they made that decision one way or the other, but healthcare did think that was something they wanted in the feasibility plan. So that,
Here did.
yeah, that's why it ended up there.
Let's quickly go to the feasibility plan. And because there's a lot of moving pieces, all the green is ours that we put in. The blue is healthcare.
Mhm.
And then there's pink from Human Services. And in this forensic plan, because it's expanded a great deal from what we did in this. We only had about 8 or 9 things. It's now gone up to 15 things at least that we haven't really looked at.
And it's worthwhile, as you look through them to see if there are, I don't want to say duplications, but areas, ways to be more efficient, maybe combining two similar types of requests. And streamlining them a little bit more, but from healthcare, you know, the ones that you put in. Healthcare has this 7, which aspects of TCR rule would need to be waived. We've talked about changing that to modified because it might not just be waiving, it could be adding language to allow for the operation of a forensic facility as a TCR. That was something that Chair Wood raised initially, that TCR wasn't a perfect fit for a forensic facility. So how can we take advantage of the licensing structure and some of the protections in the TCR rule, but modify it so it is a better fit for the forensic facility. Subdivision 9, you had the proposed staffing levels, staff qualifications, and potential contracting needs. Healthcare added necessary to establish a multidisciplinary clinical team at the forensic facility that reflects best practices, including required trauma-informed staff training and multiple potential staff strategies. And by staff strategies, the conversation was maybe like different staffing plans to allow the General Assembly to sort of consider what different staffing arrangements might look like and what is a good fit. Subdivision 10. This committee had the physical and staff security plan, both within and around the perimeter of the forensic facility. Healthcare added, including therapeutic design, clinical supervision that reflects best practices. Based on conversation, this one is maybe subject to change a bit because there has been a discussion that DOC might provide some of the external perimeter security, so that would be potentially reflected here. Also, a discussion about the role of DOC, if any, in monitoring individuals after they leave the forensic facility has been raised. So that's something else that could potentially be integrated here. Subdivision 11. A resident discharge and community monitoring plan from each department within the custody of individuals in the forensic facility that prioritizes community safety and provides residential, clinical, and case management services. So meaning if this forensic facility does end up having individuals from the custody of Dale at the facility, that Dale would submit a plan and DMH would submit a plan for what it looks like when individuals in their custody leave the forensic facility in terms of what is the residential piece, what is the clinical piece, what is the case management piece, all while trying to prioritize community safety. 12 is yours, 13 I already mentioned. This is the expansion of the Act 248 population. 14, healthcare annual reporting metrics on demographics, outcomes, staffing, and forensic facility. As I said yesterday, this committee has made a decision to remove the annual reporting requirement from the bill with the idea that it's the cart before the horse, where we're asking for reporting on something and when we don't really know what the something is yet. So this is asking for the administration as part of its plan to suggest what appropriate demographics and outcomes would be part of the annual report. Also with a mind towards the fact that it's difficult to aggregate data when the population is so tiny, and what will be asked that won't be in violation of HIPAA. And then yours 15 was the catch-all.
So one thing I'm thinking that might be helpful, Katie, this is now that you've gone through it, for when we look at this again tomorrow at 11, that we not have the highlights.
Okay.
That might help a lot so we can see it all together for these sections that we've looked at
Okay.
and for the intent language,
Okay.
so that we can see it and really think it through. Because the highlights, sometimes it's good right now because you kind of know where some of the language comes from and we can refer back to it. But I think in going through it line by line and trying to really think it through, it would be good not to have the highlights. Does that make sense to folks?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, I can do that. I'll just maybe do an excerpt of the second half of the bill without the highlighting and send it to Tate.
Section 5 on, because it's really section, our only section really is the intent language in section 5.
Mhm.
Right? 'Cause
Well, 5 is that B, and then you have the forensic, the facility, plan, which is.
Right, but it's all section 5.
No, the feasibility plan is
Section 7.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Section 5 and section 7, I'm sorry. Those are really the only two sections we have.
I can put them in a separate document for you if you'd like. Would that be helpful?
That would be helpful. I think that would be helpful. Would that be helpful?
I think
Folks?
so.
A separate document and no highlights, and then we can go through that a little bit more tomorrow. And why don't you, well, you're not gonna have time to add anything in terms of in the plan.
I feel, I know that there are changes and I have them written down. I'm hesitant to have changes going in two different documents. I'd rather the next document sort of be the master document that
After tomorrow.
it will be ready after tomorrow, it sounds like, yeah.
So I don't want to lose this piece about the DOC piece that you are mentioning might be included in the plan. It might be. Sean.
I just have a quick question for Troy and Connor. Are you guys okay if it's an off-site facility, but DOC still runs the security on it?
No.
So you don't want DOC to be involved at any level?
I'd be okay if it's on the campus of a prison within the same fence.
You would? So
And they'd
that's
be
okay, so
the
that's.
perimeter, and that's in the intent language.
Okay,
Right now.
right. So you're okay if it's at Springfield, as long as DOC is not in the building, just as they can
I'm okay with that.
watch the perimeter. And Troy, are you good with that too?
Yeah, I can get there. That's about as far as I can get.
Okay, I just want that clarity for myself. Thanks.
Well, may I ask a similar question? I get the impression that you guys are satisfied with WellPath and the drug rehabilitation, but you're not satisfied with therapeutic with this small group. Am I reading you guys right?
No, I'm not satisfied with WellPath on
No,
anything.
not at all.
Oh, okay, all
Not
right.
at
Well,
all.
that's why I wanted to ask the question. It seemed like that was inconsistent.
We support doing MOU and MOUD. We support.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that we'll.
Sorry.
They've started.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting the hook.
So we're concerned with WellPath in general for all healthcare.
That's why I asked the question.
Can I add one more thing?
Hurry up.
Yep. I know I'm a broken record on this.
You're a terrorist.
I would feel better personally if the administration came back and said, does it make sense for it to be based on your sentence or your clinical diagnosis
Yeah.
for how dangerous you are? This whole thing is just a talking point unless you actually do that. And to do it the other way it is absolutely, it's deceptive, I think, to the public. Tell people this is a public safety bill when you're not addressing who could be the most dangerous population here.
It's a real healthcare
Gotcha.
issue.
Yeah.
The
So
diagnosis.
I'm just going to keep saying that as we go through drafts, because I think even if they came back,
Would that be worth it to say something like that in legislative intent?
I mean, I think so. And I feel like I'm going crazy, but it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to build to me unless we do it that way. It's
And phrase that
sorry,
again?
Teddy. I guess a question would be, and maybe they come back with it, does it make sense for the eligible population to be based on sentence, the severity of a crime, or the clinical diagnosis that assesses the propensity for danger in the community? Does that make sense?
Leaning towards the latter.
Well, yeah, I think it should be the latter. The issue is that could balloon the size of the
Well, it
facility.
could really balloon.
Yeah,
But it's what we're doing. It's what they propose they want to
what we're
do.
doing, yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm just gonna write it down. I'm not coming up with a new draft yet, so I will bring this back as part of a list of things that you're discussing tomorrow.
That'd be great. We need to get back on the floor.
Yes.
So we are off of YouTube. We're back here tomorrow.